Hi, this is Steve Chandler. Welcome to Property Development Institute. One of the questions that I get asked all the time is, how do you know what site you should actually have a look at? What's viable? What can I sort of do to sort of save myself a lot of time? And one of the courses I've just recently run, I don't know which one it is, but you choose. What we went through is a way of filtering a number of sites. Now, there's lots of different software platforms out there that you can use to help you. Some of them are paid, some of them are free, but let's assume that you've already worked that out. And we're just going to focus on how you come up with some numbers. So what I'm about to do now is I'll share my screen and I'll talk you through creation of what I call a residual land value calculator. And this is a high-level feasibility, if you like, just different terminology for different people. So I'll take you through how to create one of these. And what this is actually trying to do is to say, if there's a parcel of land and it's for sale, for example, and it's valued at maybe $1 million. So we'll just work with $1 million. How you would determine whether or not the land value at that price meets your needs as a developer, and whether or not you would continue looking at that parcel of land. Just as a very important aspect of what I say to everybody, I do not buy sites through real estate agents. So whilst I might say there you buy from a site that's on the market, that's something that I would not do. More of that in some other videos or in another one of the training courses that we run. So there is a very specific reason why I say do not buy through a real estate agent. So I'll share my screen now and I'm going to just work through how I create. Now it's very simple. I'm just going to use Excel. You can use any other program that you've got. It's just a spreadsheet program. Google Sheets is just as good, but I'll share this and just take a look at what I do. Wherever you're based, just consider I'm going to be talking Australian dollars and the Australian tax system, but your tax system will be very, very similar. So have a look at this. I'll take you through it and then we'll wrap up afterwards. So bear with me 1 second and I'll open up the spreadsheet. Okay, so here we are in the spreadsheet. And what we're going to do is start with something really, really simple. And that is, because we're trying to find out what the land value is worth, we're actually going to go in reverse. So we actually start with our revenue and work our way down. So assuming you found a site, assuming you understand what the potential yield or the potential number of apartments is, or townhouses, whatever it might be. I'm just going to talk about apartments at the moment. What you would be doing here is looking at what the gross realization. So this is the total amount of revenue that you're going to get in. So here we're going to call it the gross realization, and open that column up a bit. And here we're going to put the number of apartments. So at this point in time, we're only talking about average number of apartments, average size of apartments, average value of apartments. Everything at this point in time is average because we don't have a set of drawings to work from. So let's just say that we're going to look at a 30 apartment development. So we've got 30 units, and let's say that we're going to achieve a sales price of $800,000 for each apartment. So I'll just give that a dollar sign. So very simply multiply the two. And there we have our gross realization. So we think we're going to have about 30 apartments and they're going to sell for about $800,000 each. So that would be the gross realization that can be achieved from the development. Next, we look at tax. And in Australia, we have a goods and services tax, and that tax is a percentage, it's 10%. And Normally, you would say, okay, the tax is 10%. It's 10% of the gross realisation. So it's $2.4 million. But that's not quite correct because we're going backwards. What we've actually got to do is work out what the number is that had 10% added to it to become 24 million. So in effect, it's not 10% of the 24 million. It's 10% of a smaller number. When you add that 10% to it, becomes 24 million. Now that number is what we call, after we deduct it, let me get the spelling right, will become our net realisation. So in this cell here, this will be the gross realisation less the tax equaling the net realisation. So I'm just going to put a little underline here so that we know, so we can see that. So this number here will be that number divided by the original number plus the 10%. So what we actually do here is we've put a formula in, which is this number, the 24 million, and we divide it by, I'm going to put a bracket in here, 1 plus the percentage, which is 110%. So we hit the enter button, and that gives us the net realisation number. This is the amount of money after you pay the government tax on your sales that you actually end up with. So the GST for Australia, I mean, your percentage, if you're talking VAT or something of that nature, might be different. So you need to understand, if you're located outside of Australia, what your tax system is to just verify that this works. So the difference between these two is 10% of this number. So when you add these two together, it becomes 24 million. So that's what we're doing. We're working in reverse. Because we're going in reverse, things are a little bit strange. So please understand that. Now, what we've got here now is our net realisation. So this means that after we have paid our taxes for the sale of our property, this is the amount of money that we've got left over. So this is our money, if that makes sense. So what we've got to do is consider what profit margin we want to achieve. So again, this is going to be a percentage. And we have to say to ourselves, okay, what is the appropriate profit margin? So in my market, where I operate, I know this is 25%. Now, that's going to give us a number. Now, again, it's not 25% of the net realisation. It's another number when you add 25% to it, becomes the net realisation. So remember, we're working backwards and it's weird, but this is how we do it. So what that means is we're saying to work out if we want to profit on top of our cost, what we're saying is we need to know our total development cost first. So let's have a look at this total development cost. And again, because we're working backwards, we're going to put a little underline there. So exactly the same as what we did with the tax, we're going to do again with the margin. So we're going to say this number is the net realisation divided by 1 plus the profit margin. So that means 125%. And we hit the enter button. That number there is our total development cost. So the actual profit number is the difference, equals that number minus that number equals the actual profit margin. So this is the amount of money that we want to make. And remember, this isn't the money that we're going to make. This is the money that we want to make. So we go, okay, that's great. Now we need to understand if that is our total development cost, and what we're trying to do is get down to the land cost, and the land is going to be the very last thing. What we've got to do is work out what all the other costs are. So we're looking to take away all the other costs and come up with a number. So the next thing that we have to do is consider all of the different things that make up our costs. And as a developer, we know generally what our costs are going to be on a project. And through experience and a number of assumptions that we have to make, we understand different components. So we know here we're trying to target the land. So that's going to be the very last thing that we look at. We also know that the construction number is probably the next largest number. So what we might do is leave the construction number as a single line item. And then we've got a myriad of other costs. So we have our financier, our application fees, our valuation fees, our legal fees, our interest. There's all sorts of things attached to finance that we've got to deal with. We know we've got to do administration. We know we've got to do our accounting. We know we have to do document control. There's going to be costs associated with that. We know we have to get consultants involved. We have to have design consultants and other consultants that will do investigative works for us, like traffic consultants, geotechnical engineers who look at the soil, contamination consultants who look for contamination, flora and fauna. We're looking at the vegetation and the animal life, maybe some heritage issues. So we need heritage consultants, acoustic consultants to look at noise and how that's treated and abated. There are so many different consultants that we are going to use. When you add all that up, and the project management, the development management, and we've got holding costs on the land, so some council rates and all of the fixed statutory charges like land taxes and things of that nature, all of those sort of costs. Don't forget, we've got sales and marketing. We've got to create our website and our brochures and anything that we're going to hand out to people or email to people. All of that has to be created. Any advertising we're going to do, we've got to allow for the advertising costs, and to create all of that. Not only is it the printing cost of the brochure, but we've got to create it first. Then we've got sales commissions, sales and marketing commissions. We've got our lawyers, not only for preparation of the loan documentation, but we've got lawyers who've got to prepare our consultants agreements, our building contract, our sales contracts for selling our apartments or whatever our product might be. All of those things, they're all these what we call other development costs. Now, through experience and in my market, I know that other development costs are a percentage of the costs that can be incurred. Now, I'm going to come back to this in a second. So we've got our other development costs. I said we've got our construction cost, and then we're looking for our land value. That's the one that we're looking to achieve at the very end. So we call that the residual land value. So this is what we're chasing at the moment. So looking at that, I know through experience that the other development costs are a percentage value compared to the construction and residual land values. Now, that you say, how's that? How do you do that? What's that about? And I need to get to the end to come back and explain that. So I'm going to do the same thing that I did up above. I'm going to put a percentage in here for other development costs, and I'm going to put 30% in here. I'm going to put an underline because I'm going to do exactly what we did up further with the gross realisation, the net realisation. And I'm going to do a formula that equals the total development cost divided by, in the brackets, 1 plus the 30%, so divided by 130%. So again, I know that our other development costs are going to be about 30% of the project. The construction, we know that we've got 30 apartments, and in your market, you will know on average how much per apartment it costs to build. So for this example, I'm going to say it costs $350,000 per apartment to build. So I'll just do a quick formula there. Oh, and I'll make these dollar signs. So we now know that construction is $10.5 million. So from our total development cost of 17 million and a bit, 7.5 million, we've taken off our other development costs and come up with 13. Now we're going to take off our construction cost and come up with a number. So I'm just going to put an underline in here. And this number is an amount of money that is actually available for all of the costs associated with the acquisition of the land. So right now, this is the amount of money available for the acquisition of land. So that is the total amount of money available. So I'm just going to stick another line in here. So we go, okay, so the land, the pool of money that is available for the land is approximately 2.9 million. So why then do I say that? And why don't I just call that the residual land value? So what I do have to do is whenever you acquire a parcel of land, you're going to spend money on taxes, on due diligence, on lawyers, and we call those closing costs. So I'm going to put in here an allowance for closing costs. Now, this is going to be a percentage. And again, depending on the size of the land, the value of it, what your different tax scales may be for these type of purchases, you need to allow a number appropriate for your location. In my circumstance, I allow 7%. Now, exactly the same thing as what we've done up above, we're working backwards. So here we need to say the 2.9 million divided by 1 plus our 7%, so 107%, and enter, and that becomes our number for the availability of land. So in this particular circumstance, if I was looking at a site and I'd worked out that you could achieve approximately 30 units on the site and that they were going to sell for approximately $800,000 each, then approximately I could look to spend up to $2.735 million on the acquisition of land. So in this circumstance, this number, I might just blow all this up now to make it a bit bigger. So this number, the 2.7, becomes the amount of money that we could possibly spend on purchasing a parcel of land. Now, keep in mind that with these types of feasibilities, we're talking about averages and approximates and estimates of what the other development costs will be. Everything that we put in here is an estimate only. And all this is a guide for you to know that, for example, if a parcel of land, a landowner was saying to you, I'm willing to acquire this site, I'm willing to sell this site and I want $2 million, then here you would say it is worthwhile for you to move forward to the next stage, which is getting some real information and undertaking some due diligence and to do a static feasibility to try and prove up the number of 2.735. This form of feasibility is very simple. It's only a guide. Do not purchase a site based on this. So I'm just going to write that here. Do not use this feasibility study as a basis for site acquisition. It is only a guide, and further due diligence is required. Hopefully I spelt all that correctly. That becomes critical. You must not spend your time or money or offer to purchase anything on a property based on this type of feasibility. That is critical. If you do that, you are going to lose money, because this is only an estimate. This is a guide. It is not designed to be your final feasibility. There are 3 forms of feasibility, but what this feasibility does allow you to do is very quickly assess how much you might be able to pay for a site, in this case, 2.735 million, approximately, for a site. And if land values in the area where this is, that you're looking at, if land values are less than that, then this could potentially be a profitable development site for you. So that's really important. I hope you found that quick run through the feasibility, the residual land value, the high level feasibility, the first of 3 different levels of feasibility that we use to actually undertake a project, or to acquire a project, I should say. So remember, critical aspect of this, do not use this form of feasibility as a method to offer anyone money in relation to acquiring a site. This is simply a guide to help you filter through different properties very quickly to have a look at whether or not it works for you. Remember, wherever you are, work out what your tax base is, and if it actually works in the same way that I've put forward there. Find out how to determine how many properties you might be able to get on a site. All those sorts of things. You do need to learn how to do that for your domicile, wherever you live. Well, thank you for joining us again today. If you'd like to know anything else about property development, feel free to drop me an email, contact us form on our website. Visit the website if you'd like to find out about any of the courses, including our site acquisition workshop, which might be useful, or one of our feasibility workshops where we go through the 3 different levels of feasibility. Thank you for joining me.